Well, it's a B2BUX99 here with kind of a special deck profile today. It is 2005 Goat Control. This is something I've been messing around with recently with some buddies, and I don't know, like it's kind of interesting to play kind of old school Yu-Gi-Oh, especially for me, for someone who's been playing for so long. Although I didn't actually play at this time. Well, no, I played, or at least I collected, but I was like a little kid, and uh, I didn't really know all that much about the game at this time. But anyway, I'm gonna show you the deck. It is it can be kind of fun to play. It can get really sacky, um, which makes it kind of dumb. Um, Usually when you lose, it's to something dumb, but at the same time, when you win, it's because of something dumb. So yeah, I'm just gonna go through the list, and this is following the April 2005 ban list, playing cards up to Flaming Eternity, cards that were used at the time, which some people have a hard time understanding. Like when you play retro decks in like old formats, like you play cards that people would have played at the time, not things you know about now. So like you wouldn't play Mind Crush in this, even though that was like available at the time. You just didn't play it. Um, and other things like that, and I'll talk about it, and I'll explain a few things because some of these cards are old, and some people might not know what they do. So, starting off, you got the Blackluster Soldier, the biggest, baddest card in the format at the time. Um, it's BLS. I don't really need to explain it. It's really nasty, but it's not a win condition. Technically, there really is no win condition in the deck. It's really a lot of it is just kind of sacky bullshit. But it's not a win condition. There if when your opponent drops BLS, it's almost they're almost always going to sit on it in defense unless you have no back row. Like if you have any back row, if your opponent has any back row, you bring on defense and you just banish things and you poke with other things. But there are a lot of outs to this. It's not the end all be all. But he's your biggest monster in the deck. And then next, a Jinzo. Um, Another big card. I don't really need to explain this. And then Air Knight, you only play 2 tribute monsters. Anymore is too much. And again, this I don't. It just gets cloggy at that point, and you want room for other things. It's very like spell oriented. You play a ton of spells. So yeah. But Air Knight, if you don't know what this does, it's level 5, 1900 attack, 1400 defense. It does piercing, and anytime it inflicts battle damage, you get to draw a card. So he's really, really good. Very powerful. Um, so yeah, those are like your 3 big monsters. You don't really need to play anything other than that. Uh, and then, oh, obviously this is good just because it gets through goats, just hits for damage and gets to draw. So, one Xarian Universe, 1800 attack, 1900 defense. When he attacks a, um, well, no, during the battle phase, you can activate his effect to have him lose 400 attack until the end phase. And he also gets well, to have him lose 400 attack and gain piercing until the end phase, and then he just goes back to normal. So again, really good against goats, or just because like a lot of like in goats, like especially early game, well mostly early game, it's really just gonna be like set them off, just set them back or go, and then Xarian can just get over it, and you don't need a tribute for it. So again, it gets through goats too, so really good. One Kaiku, this isn't something that's like super common that you see in a lot of Go decks, but I have seen enough people play it where I'd say, I mean, it's definitely an acceptable card. Um, I like this card a lot just because it's really, really nasty. It's a big beat stick, and it stops BLS from coming out because you can't banish. So, and it can rip things out of the graveyard like Sinister Serpents and things like that, because Sinister Serpent's really annoying to deal with. Breaker, it's a beat stick, get through back row. I don't know, nothing I really need to talk about this card. You should all know what it does. Tribe Infecting Virus, really good card. You can pitch a card to declare a type of monster and then destroy all monsters of the declared type on the field. And you can use that multiple times a turn, so it's really nasty. Just like, when your opponent has a bunch of goats, you just call, Beast, get rid of them. Gets rid of, like, Jinzo, can get him off the board because he does a lot of attack. And whatchamacallit, BLS. So he's really good. DD Orderly, again, just gets rid of annoying things. This deck is very kind of like toolboxy. Um, but again, the whole format at the time was just goats. Everyone was playing goats in one form or another, but the core of the deck was the same. It just revolved around goats and metamorphosis and things like that. So yeah, DD Warrior Lady gets that thing off the board. It's a nice set too if your opponent has like lots of monsters. They'll attack into it and just gets rid of it. Asura Priest. This is really good for getting rid of goats too. It can attack. Well, it's a spirit monster, so it goes back to your hand. 1700 attack, and it can attack all of your opponent's monsters once each. So it's a Sunwell. And then of course it returns to your hand. So just one punch to get through the goats. Really nice. Sugiyomi, another really important card in the deck. It's just a Book of Moon when it's normal or flip summoned. And of course returns to hand. You can do combos with like Thousand Eyes and stuff like that, which I'll explain a little later. Double Magician of Faith. This card's really good because again you play a lot of spells, so it can just recycle them. It sucks when your opponent noblemans this because it gets rid of, or it just sucks when it gets nobleman either way because then you both lose it. Once it's already in your hand. Morphing Jar. If you have like a crappy hand, it's really good. Just lets you reset, puts things into the graveyard. Really nice with like Sinister Serpent because then you just get it back anyway. But it can hurt your opponent too. But it can also help your opponent. So it's kind of, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of this card, but it's not bad. Sinister Serpent, again, I mentioned this a number of times. Works with Tribe, Lightning Vortex, things like that. He lets it go right back to your hand. Spirit Reaper, this card's really nasty because it's hard to get over, but also this format is all about advantage. If you have advantage, you pretty much win. So it just rips things out of your opponent's hand to take advantage away. And then Sangan, this is to search stuff. Spells Double Goats. Just brings out 4 sheep tokens, 0 attack and defense. Just a card that you don't want to, I don't know, you need to know when to activate this. That's the thing with a lot of the cards in this deck, especially the spells. You need to know what to activate and when. There are some things you want to hold on to. This thing, I usually just set it and just, like, unless they have like a lot of things on board to take things away. Unless I have a Metamorphosis where I can just go End Phase Goats and then they'll just have advantage. Speaking of the devil, 2 Metamorphosis. Card's insane, brings out your fusions. You can make any level 1 through 8, except for 2 and 7, because there are no level 2 fusions in the whole game. There are no level 7 monsters, really. I mean, there did exist 7s at the time, so you'd probably play it, but for the sake of this, you don't really need to play any, because no one's playing any 7s. And you don't really need 8 either, because you wouldn't make it with BLS, but you can, so yeah, Metamorphosis, really badass. And then Pot Drawing. This is just like one of those cards, like, this is like one of the few cards in the deck where you just like activate as soon as you get it. There's no reason not to. Graceful Charity. Most of the time you activate this as soon as you have it, or especially if you have a Sinister Servant, it's really good. But other times you might want to hold this, like if you don't really have, if you have like a good hand, you don't want to pitch anything. So that can be good. Delinquent Duo, good example of a card you definitely want to hold on to. If you don't know what this does, you pay 1,000, you randomly rip a card out of your opponent's hand, and then they pick another card to discard. So the thing with this, you don't want to do it if they have a lot of cards in their hand. I usually like to do it when they have 2, just rips them both out. You can do it if they have 3, which, I mean, it's okay. I mean, unless you know they have this Sinister Serpent, then I wouldn't activate this. I just like, but again, it's just a card you want to hold on to. I don't know if I have explained this well enough. Premature Burial, bring things back. Monster Born with Man, so played this. Snatch Steal, we all know how broken this card is. Creature Swap, nasty with goats, but keep in mind you both pick which monsters you trade, so like if they only have a VLS, you can just swap it for a goat, and then it's pretty awesome. Lightning Vortex, because Raigeki and Dark Hole were both banned, I believe. Swords, just like if you have a crappy hand, you're getting beat down, something like that's really good. Also, like I said, early game, you set a lot, so you just use this to flip them up and see what your opponent has. So it's really nice. Double Nobleman, because setting's a thing. I don't really need to explain that. Double Book. I like this is works nice with this because like you can force the Nobleman. Just like gets rid of annoying things like BLS and Jinzo. Things like that. But overall, it's just a good card in general because it stops things from going off. And then probably the best examples of cards you want to hold on to, Heavy and MST. I usually like to hold on to Heavy until I'm going for game. Just so I can like insure it, unless I have Jinzo, in which case it doesn't really matter, unless I have a book, which kind of sucks. So you probably want Heavy anyway. But yeah, you don't just Heavy to Heavy. You want to hold on to it, especially if they don't like have anything. If you just keep poking and they're just letting it go, then Heavy, you don't need Heavy. MST, because there's only one MST, it was at one at the time, you definitely want to hold on to this. Like especially for their like snatch deals and their prematures and their whatchamacallits, snap shields, premature burials, and sometimes swords. Oh, and Call of the Haunted, that's what I was looking for. So yeah, it's really good. A lot of people, you do not blind space in this format. There's no reason to, like ever. It's just dumb, especially because you only have the one MST. I mean, you play Dust Tornado too, but even then, you don't want to do it. I usually just hold on to these until they activate, like Premature or Snap Shield or something, and then you just go chain it. To that, I especially love doing that against people who are dumb, and then they don't hold on to them, and they just blind space, and then they do and then you do hold on to it and they go premature and you're just like, oh, MST look must be nice. I'm like, oh, really? Because I'm just playing it right. So yeah, that's all the spells. And then for the traps, Bottomless, Torrential, Mirror Force, looks familiar, right? Call, just like all staples that we're familiar with. Dust Tornado is also really good. Ring of Destruction, the original effect. Oh, and Sinister Servant obviously is the original effect too. And then Double Sakuretsu, which when your opponent attacks just destroys the monster. One thing you might notice, I'm not playing Solemn Judgment. Solemn Judgment was a card at the time. It was at 3, but the thing was nobody played Solemn Judgment because, number one, life points mattered a lot more back then, and also there weren't really any like big explosive plays that you needed to stop. Like once, like, especially around like Teledad and Lights 1 format, everyone was playing Judgment at 3 because there were a lot of big explosive plays, so you played those cards. But back then, there really wasn't. There's nothing you really need to Solemn except for maybe Heavy Storm. But yeah, you just didn't play Solemn Judgment at the time. I wouldn't like frown upon anyone who I mean, people played it like occasionally as like a one of or sided one or two of it, but for the most part, you didn't really see it. I mean, I wouldn't be necessarily like I wouldn't necessarily frown upon someone for playing it like as a one of, but like there's really no reason to play it, just kind of a waste. And even I was testing with it, and most of the time I just set it and just like never need it. So because there are just so many options. Because like I said, this deck is very like toolboxy. For the extra, alright, got the sheet tokens, obviously. Triple Thousand Eyes. Yeah, I know they're the poopy supers, but they were mad cheap, and they're near mint. So, but anyway, best card like of the format, amazing. If you don't know what this does, it's a level 1 fusion, obviously, so you just use it with a Go token or Sheep token, and our like Magician of Faith or Sinister Serpent or something like that. You can Metamorphosis with something face down, so you can set the Serpent and Metamorphosis with it. But what this does, as long as it's on the field, other monsters can't attack, so only he will be able to attack unless there's 2 of them on the board on either side, and then nothing can attack. Because it doesn't say except for this card. It just says other monsters can't attack. Once per turn, you can take an opponent's monster and equip it to this, and he takes on the attack and defense of that monster, but you can only have one monster with it at a time. So, like a thing you can do, you can like steal something and then go and like swing, I guess, and then you go Tsukiyomi, flip it back face down, and then flip it back face up, steal something else, and then Tsukiyomi goes back to your hand, so you can like keep using it over and over again. So it's pretty nasty. Thousand Eyes was like the big bad card of the format. Really nasty card. Just really amazing. Dragonus the Wicked Knight. It's just a 3. 1200 isn't horrible. I dropped it once just to put Sangan in the graveyard for research, but I mean it's there if you need it, I guess. You just played a lot of random things. I mean, there's a lot of different 3s and 4s and whatnot you can play, but these are just the most common ones with like the biggest attack, and they're the only ones that really matter because you're never really going to go into anything other than Thousand Eyes, really. If you, I mean, that's really all you need. But 5 and 6 maybe. A Dark Fire, just level 4, 1500. For the 5s, you got Reaper on the Nightmare. Can't be killed in bat. It's basically Nightmare Horse plus Spirit Reaper. 800 attack, 600 defense. Can't be killed in battle. If it's targeted, it dies. It can attack directly, even if your opponent has monsters on the board. And if it inflicts damage, you rip a card out of their hand. So really, really annoying card. Because you can, I mean, even if they have monsters, you can still attack. So it's handy ass. Fiend Skull Dragon. As long as he's on the field, you negate the effects of all flip effect monsters, and if he's targeted by a trap card, you can negate and destroy it. So basically, you can't Ring of Destruction him, but that's pretty much it. 2000 attack, 1200 defense, not horrible. There's a couple of monsters that are very similar to him that have the same stats. Well, 2 more actually. First one's Dark Balter, the Terrible. When a normal spell is activated, you can negate it by paying 1,000 life points, and you negate. And he's also like has a Dark Ruler Hades effect where when he attacks, it negates the effects of an effect monster that he destroys. So like if they set a Magician of Faith or a Sangan or something like that, and like you attack, it's negated. It just dies. So no, terrible. He's pretty good, actually. Just because you can't like snatch steal him or anything like that. So. Or Book of Moonum. Ryu Senshi, he's probably the best of those 3. He does the most stuff, I guess, but he has the same stats, except he's a 6. What he does is he can negate any trap card by paying 1,000 life points, and it negates the effect of any spell card that targets him, and you can destroy it. So just stop every trap, and you can't snatch steal him or Book of Moonum, so not bad. And again, he's a 6. Dark Blade, the Dragon Knight, another 6, 22, 15. When he inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can banish up to 3 monsters from your opponent's graveyard. So, just hinders the BLS or gets rid of like Sinister Serpent and things like that. So he's okay, I guess. And Ojama King, because he's actually really nasty. He's a 6, so I mean, you need the Jinzo, but he's actually kind of worth getting rid of the Jinzo sometimes. Depends on the situation, but what he does, 0 attack, 3,000 defense, so you just sit on him, which is really nasty. And then when he comes out, you can select up to 3 of your opponent's monster card zones, and as long as he's on the field, they can't be used. So, shuts down goats completely and just really slows them down. Although this format was already really slow, but it slows them down even more because they just have so many less options. Because stopping the goats really suck. So yeah, he's kind of nasty. And then I do play a random, or well, not really random. It was like the only 8 that was out at the time. Gatling Dragon. You'd probably never bring this out just because you don't want to get rid of the BLS. But what he does. Once per turn during your main phase, you can toss a coin 3 times, and you can destroy monsters equal to the number of heads you get. So he's just kind of there. But like I said, pretty much the only fusion you're ever going to make is Thousand Eyes. So I mean, really all you need is 3,000 Eyes. Or you can just proxy it, it's not like it matters. But maybe Reaper on the Nightmare, because he's pretty good, or one of these guys. But mostly, it's really just Thousand Eyes is really all you need. Because it's the only thing I really ever go into. Like I said, I made Dragonus once just to put Reaper in the graveyard. Or, not Reaper. Sangan. So yeah, that's the deck. Let me know what you guys think. If you like these retro deck profiles, maybe I'll do some more. It's kind of a pain to get some of these like older, more obscure cards. Well, not really obscure, just like harder to find cards like Delinquent Duo. Like this is still like an $8 card for some reason. So that was interesting, and these are kind of annoying. But yeah, maybe I'm gonna try and maybe film some duels with these, because I know Tom's been messing around with this too. So so yeah, thank you guys for watching. I know this is a really long video, but yeah, goats. Kind of fun, I guess. Maybe it's different. It's a break from the regular nonsense. Like, it's a break from this, pretty much. Like, it's very, very different play style. You have to be a lot smarter with your plays. So yeah, that's the deck. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Come rate, subscribe. See you next time.